19, 2016. It's 5:30 p.m. And I now call this meeting to order. Invocation will be led with Elena. And before she says a prayer, I want to take a little time also to say a little prayer for our law enforcement officers that have been killed this past few days, and to remember to always protect and help out our police officers here in Alpine and Brewster County. Okay. With that said,
Heavenly Father, we thank you for this evening when we can come together. We thank you, dear Lord, for the city in which we live. It's not without its problems, and we know that, and that's why we have a city council and we have citizens. And we are so privileged to be able to come together and work on those problems. And dear Lord, we broaden our perspective tonight and think of those who are targets of hatred and violence. That includes police officers who have been shot down, other people, because it seems like that hatred finds its way to a gun and to people who are willing to kill. And so help us each resolve that we will rid our own lives of that desire to hurt people, of hatred, of resentment, and unforgiveness. Dear Lord, please be with the city employees, be with the city council as they make decisions tonight. And I have a special prayer also tonight that you will find someone who will have it in their heart to be our Salvation Army representative. That position has not been filled for several months, and so many people need the temporary help that it offers. So please select someone and put it on their heart to take up that responsibility. I pray in the name of Jesus Christ.
pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one indivisible.
And if you have any cell phones, would you please mute them? And we do have a forum, so we will go ahead and continue the order of business. You don't have any presentation of the proclamation statement?
Oh, yes, sir. Meeting notice was posted at 1:45 p.m. on July 15, 2016. And no, we don't have any presentations.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. And we'll go ahead and continue. Mayor's report. We've been talking about the city parks, and we have at the American Legion, we've adopted the American Legion Park over in 16th and Marfa. So we're going to go ahead and maintain that park. And I just wish that there'd be other organizations or individuals that take it onto their own to go ahead and adopt the park and maintain it. We're pretty short staffed as far as the folks that take care of the parks and whatnot. We also don't have a lot of budget for that. So I think it'd be a great benefit to the city and to the community if some of us would start taking some of these parks and take them under our organization and take care of them. That's all I have to report, also, but before I move on, I'd like to recognize David Lenrix, who's the new commander of the American Legion, and Manny Ibarra. Thank you all for coming. And now we'll move on to the city manager report. City manager Zimmer.
Honorable Mayor and City Council. Projector starting. I think we have 8 here tonight. First, wanted to capture some feedback on our monthly financials. This particular month, we ran through July 5th, which being a holiday week, we wanted to really capture some bills early in the month that needed to be paid. And one of the strategic things Megan and I talk a lot about, especially as we enter that last quarter, how do we ensure that departments are staying the course with regards to our approved budgets. Certainly, we can move line items within departments, but we really wanted to keep in front of them where we're at week by week. We certainly, as I go through some of the graphs here, we do have a couple of departments that we had some capital improvement projects or capital purchases approved in this year's budget. We're really trying to zero in on ensuring we accomplish those purchases and those investments through the last quarter of this year. The biggest item that we're continuing to work on is our specified activity report, or I call it the checking account report. It shows us where each checking account is. One of the interesting things that happened when Hill Country was set up back in the middle of 2013, this predates both Megan and myself, is originally the system was set up to run all of the checks through the general fund. And subsequent to that, really the better decision is to take your individual payments for whether it's your gas department, water sewer department, airport, and run them through their own checking account, their own fund. And that was something that we had set up later in 2013, early 2014. We still have to use a single fund to process payroll. Otherwise, it gets awfully complex if you're running 6, 7, 8 different payrolls. So we still use the general fund for all of our payroll activities. But generally speaking, now all of our fund pays their own bills. If you look back through that specific activity report, you'll see some items on Fund 2. Those are ones that we're really working on. Those were the previous clearing accounts that we had used. Goal certainly is to have all of that rectified before the end of the year. We had brought Marlene down here from Gibson to provide oversight, work with Megan on that to ensure from an audit perspective that we were doing things properly. So I feel very confident that this fiscal year we will be right on that. So including your packet, kind of that overall trending of what we're doing. And I think it's important month in, month out that we look at how we do compared to last year. So I'm not going to go through all of that this evening. Our general fund, some real key highlights. Ad valorem tax, we're 99% of our annual budget expectation. That's good for us. This time last year, we were still in 95, 96% range. Sales tax, we're at 83% of our annual budgeted expectation at 75, 76% a year. We're basically 107,000 or close to 108,000 over what we had projected through the first 3 quarters. Some of the drivers of that, when you look at Shopco opening up, you look at some of the other stores that we have opening up, like the Teen Store, just general new businesses. Also, our dining experiences. We've got more options out there with some of the food cart eateries. So as you look at some of these drivers, we're basically 10.1% above what we projected. We had projected a 5% increase this year. So I think it's a real good indicator of some of the trending that we're seeing in the city. Finally, with our general fund, we're certainly anticipating more spending on our paving material through the rest of the year in order to accomplish what we're trying to do from the SEALCO project perspective. Moving forward into our water sewer sanitation, certainly the hot weather leads to more water consumption. We anticipate our next 2 months of revenue will be much higher than anticipated. We're really kind of on track with what we did previous year. But this is one particular fund that really working on making sure we complete the capital projects that we committed to at the beginning of the year. Some of that includes aerator maintenance, bar screen implementation, also working on the fire hydrant program. So some of what you'll see certainly in the streets over the next month or so, the fire hydrant piece will be a little bit more visible to the general citizen, but we've certainly got some back-end projects we can do as well. Also have now successfully completed our SWAC grant, which we're running through this month as well. And that's certainly been helpful on our operation out at the 15-acre facility. We do have a ton of mulch out there now, and we'll, one of the things Patsy and I talked about is how do we aggressively make it available to the community. Some things we've done in the past is have a front end loader out there on a Saturday so that people can drive up in their trucks or their flatbeds and promote the mulch usage. Want to wait till the temperature comes down a little bit. We get more into kind of growing season, but certainly putting that grant to use, the monies that we petitioned for from a city perspective, and think, overall it helps with water conservation. Moving into our airport, certainly, significant investment in the airport. You can see April-May timeframe where we had the jumps. So we did meet with TxDOT and Lochner Engineering this month on the preliminary design review, and checking account, our balance still is in good standing, but we do need to contemplate as we move into the budget cycle this next year the allocation of dollars for the bigger project. Moving forward with our hotel occupancy tax, really feedback, talking to Chris and Stewart this last week. Stewart is certainly more in touch with the hoteliers. Very positive feedback. Our summer activities certainly are robust, and we know the next several weeks we've got significant events from the rodeo execs to Big Bend Ranch Rodeo to Viva Big Bend. One of the interesting things, though, is some of the retail establishments have shared a little lower than expected sales that are kind of your artistic, primarily driven by tourism traffic. So certainly trying to keep an eye on that. People coming through town are going to spend money on hotels and eating, but we certainly want them to buy things that are unique to our area and unique to our artists too. So how we blend that in, I think, is an important part of our advertising strategy as well. Moving forward into gas company, real focus is to continue on the investment through our DIN program and making sure we hit those targets. This is another fund that we had allocated dollars this year for vehicle purchases. So conversation with Randy, with Megan as well, is to finish that acquisition over the next 6 weeks. Also, because they haven't been as busy, we've been able to have some of our operators from the gas company give us some back support for our water and field. We've got a very skilled backhoe operator, Victor, gas company. Leroy Dutch Overson, Leroy, very skilled as well. And so I think having some of that mature guidance has certainly been helpful for us. Kind of moving forward, the second point on financials was PD update. I think Captain Lasoya had a nice article in our paper this week. We talked a little bit about some of the concerns related to burglaries. We answer probably 20 to 30 calls a month related to burglary, trespass, suspicious activity through our police department. We're a greater look at that as we're really answering about 500 plus calls a month out of our local police department. The interesting thing recently, we may not have a Pokemon crowd here, certainly a new game that's out there. I think it's added several million to Nintendo's market share. And the Pokemon app is really designed to, in my opinion, do two things. Number one is, how do we get gamers out of the couch, wandering around, looking for things. My sense is they're probably in cahoots with Verizon and AT&T as well, because it drives up data charges and helps them sell more data. So I think what will happen is, when mom and dad get the Verizon and AT&T bill this next month, they'll probably curtail some of that usage in the field. It has led to calls in BD, and I know I've shared some of the greater concerns across the nation. Bloomberg put out a real nice article. So some of the calls on suspicious activity this month are literally kids out there staring at their cell phone, wandering around, trying to find these little Pokemon things. So that's been an interesting revelation this month. So with that being said, we did have 3 dispatchers over the last week or so put in their notice of leaving, and I kind of view the dispatch role was similar to the old telecom operator. It's kind of a stepping stone to something greater. Dispatcher will come in. Most of our existing PD was at one point a dispatcher. So transition into going to the academy. We've got one who looks like he's going to go to Border Patrol. So certainly there is progression in their own personal careers, but the dispatch role is one that we constantly hire and train. So, with that being said, that's what I have this evening. If there's any questions,
Thanks for coming on the Pokemon. We were in El Paso this past weekend, and there was dozens and dozens of kids staring at their phone and wandering into the middle of the street, in the middle of traffic. So I hadn't seen it here in Alpine, but it does take hold. I just ask the public to be cautious as far as watching these kids that'll step out in front of me. Or not, Mr. Scudder will be a busy man.
The night before, it was about almost 2 o'clock in the morning, and I was on my way home. And I probably saw about 20 plus kids roaming in downtown with their phones. And the only thing caught my attention was the lighting of the phone. And they were out. I don't know where the parents thought they were, but they were out. Not at home. So yes, we need to be careful with them. If they don't pay attention. And these are not in their car.
Yeah, that's a scary thought. Okay, we'll move to public hearings. Public hearing to obtain citizens' views and comments concerning a zoning change requested by owner Reba Cross Seals from C2 to M1 for expansion of an existing substation. Agent is AEP Texas Robert Signs. Properly identified. Identification street address is 8th Street between West Murphy and West Avenue at Alpine, Texas. And the legal description is Lot 4 and Portion 5, Block 57, original town site of Alpine. Mr. Zimmerman.
Honorable Mayor, City Council, this is the public hearing pertaining to this topic. My name is only did contemplate it. We will have a point later in the meeting where council can dialogue, but this is purely the point for the citizens to come up and voice their opinions on this topic.
When you approach Mike, please say your name, your ward, and who your council member is. And that was a go to, and we're going to get to that. Anybody? Yes, sir.
It's Manny Ibarra, Ward 2, address is 308 South 8th Street. My concern is with this substation being built so close to other houses, the radiation effect it's going to have on the people living around there, and what studies have been made in order to assure that people won't be affected by it or any other electrical radiation going through there.
And we do have a guest with AE. This could probably address those concerns, sir. Thank you. Yes, sir. Thank you. Yes, sir.
I am John Carpenter with Carpenter Real Estate, native of Alpine. I can't even tell you what ward I'm in, and I apologize, Ward 5, I believe. Anyway, I'm here to represent Reba Seal. She has owned this property for many, many years. She has attempted to sell it for the last 2 years with no success. There have been inquiries on it, but it lends itself to industrial zoning usage because the property to the north of it against the railroad, the EP substation or station there on the east side. There are 2 building contractors that use bought the property across the street there, and that is used for storage of their equipment, building supplies, warehouses. The property that's being requested to be rezoned for industrial use does not join Avenue F, or it's not across the street, immediately across the street from any homes. And the highest and best use for that is industrial use, and AEP is the only person that's been able to come in there and that can use it and needs it for the improvement of our electrical service in Alpine. And anyway, Ms. Seal, I ask that you seriously consider rezoning this for industrial use for the betterment of Alpine and the expansion of our water, of our electrical system in Alpine. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Is there anybody else? Okay. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and go through on to the consent agenda, which the following items are of routine administrative nature. The council has been furnished with background and support materials. Each item and or it has been discussed at the previous meeting. All items will be acted upon by one vote without being discussed separately unless requested by city council or member, in which event the item will be immediately withdrawn from individual consideration in its normal sequence after the items do not require separate discussion have been acted upon. The remaining items will be adopted by one vote. What is your pleasure?
I move that we approve the city council meeting minutes of July 15th.
And there's a second. Any discussion on this? Okay, all those in favor, signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed? Seeing no opposed, it passes. Thank you. Okay, we'll have a quarterly readout on EMS.
Honorable Mayor, City Council, we do have Mike Scudder here this evening, and in your packets, I included the report that he will review with the highlights with you all this evening and be available for any questions.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council members. This is the second quarter for 2016, our quarterly EMS report for April 1st through June 30th. The total number of calls that we answered for City, County, and Meriton were 146 calls. Last quarter we did 144, I believe, so we had 2. They're all staying pretty much in line about the same quarters. Total city calls, we had about 82. The no transports, we had 32 of those in the city. Total county calls, we had 15. Total no transports, we had 10. Total American calls, we had 7. Total no transports for American, we had 0. I have on your report there the breakdown for each month. April, we had a total of 49 runs. For May, we had 40. And for June, we had 57. On the breakdown for the total of response type of calls, whether they were basic life support or advanced life support type runs, these are based on, obviously, on transports only. There were 104 total. For city total for the quarter, we had 70 DLS calls and 12 advanced life support calls. For the county, we had 21 DLS calls and 1 county ALS call. Okay, on our quarterly breakdown for the payer breakdown for April, we had 17 Medicare patients, 0 Medicaid patients, 8 private insurance, 3 self-pays, and 4 indigent patients. For May, we had 16 Medicare, 0 Medicaid, 7 insurance, 3 self-pay, and 0 indigent. And for June, we had 23 Medicare, 3 Medicaid, 11 insurance, and 9 self-pay, for that total of the billables that were 104. It's looking like the majority every month are Medicare patients, elderly clients that we do have. I think it was about 60% of those are Medicare that we deal with, and lower amount for the insurance and Medicaid, and self-pays a little bit lower. On the air ambulance transports that we do, the interfacility between Big Bend Regional Medical Center and the Alpine Municipal Airport, for the month of April, we did 11. For May, we did 4. For June, we did 9, for a total of 24 transports from the hospital to the airport. On our breakdown for the payer type, it was pretty much half and half, where we had Medicare and then insurance, and then actually it was a third, and then self-pays for April. May we had 1 Medicare, 2 insurance, 1 self-pay. For June, we had 4 Medicare, 5 insurance, and 0 on the self-pays or indigents or Medicaid. On the breakdown for the ratio of patient resident status for the air transfers that were taken out of hospital, for April, we had 8 city county residents and 3 non-city county residents, for a total of 11. For May, we had 1 city county resident, 3 non-city county residents, for a total of 4. In June, we had 3 city county residents and 6 non-city county residents, for a total of 9. Which this quarter broke down to 12 and 12, so it's 50-50 on each one of these resident stats that we get. On the number of billable patients, which we have the city, county, and air transports all put together, there were a total of 128 billable, including the air transfers. For April, we had 43 billable. For May, we had 30 billable, and for June, a total of 55 billable, for that total of 128. That's all on that. The other thing I included is, as of July 1st this year, this will be 31 years that we provided service for the city and the county for our 31st year. In that last 4 years, we replaced their ambulances with newer, more modern ambulances. We've added some newer physical control LifePak 15 monitor defibrillator pacemaker units. We've added also, in addition, the LifePak 12 lead EKG monitors, so we can do a full 12 lead evaluation in the back of the ambulance with these monitors. We've also added electronically controlled transport ventilators. We have added battery-powered striker stretchers to help reduce the risk of back injuries on EMS personnel. We've added EZIO intraosseous power drivers and needles to give us another access in the event that IV access on a patient is unavailable. And we've added fetal Doppler monitors for our obstetrical patients to determine rates for their little ones. That's all I have.
Thank you very much, sir. Any questions? Council.
Right on your equipment, is it funded by the government, or do you have grants for that, or how does that get?
No, all of these things we just purchased through our collections for the other budget each year to try to just upgrade our equipment. None of it was purchased by grants or anything.
And the 128 number that you gave us, you billed for the 128 on all of that, or?
Yeah, those are all the 128 of what we billed for this quarter, just depending on what we get. One of the things that has become an issue though is, and it really affects us, is since we have about 65% of our patients that are Medicare, with the Obamacare, the Medicare, the reimbursements for EMS just continue to drop. Over the last quarter, they reduced our reimbursements by another 11%. And where we normally bill, our base rate is $750, and they have set at an approved amount of around $328. And then if the call is approved, we get 80% of that. And if the patient has a co-insurance, then we'll get the 20% difference on that, which usually averages somewhere between $89 and $95 that we get back from that. So it's used to when you can bill the amount of money that you charge, you get it, and it's just every year it's just continually dropping. And in our, where we are with the higher number of Medicare patients, that's really effectual for us. It hurts.
So we can't be an exception to the rule because of the area that we're in.
No, and that's what,
All the way across the board.
right, and they actually, Medicare goes in and they evaluate each area differently, where we would be charging our $750 in base rate and they approve $328. In Dallas or a big city like that, if they charge $1,500 for base rate, they may be getting $900 approved. So it's different everywhere. And you can, each year you can appeal the amount, and it's up to them to decide whether they do it. And after that appeal, whatever they decide, you take it or leave it.
Thank you.
Any more? Thank you very much, Mr. Miller.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Okay, now we'll have a quarterly readout of Alpine Visitor Center. So,
Honorable Mayor, City Council, we have Kaylee Cotton here from our chamber and visitor center. She's got an update for you, what's happened in the second quarter.
Good evening. Before I get started, I wanted to thank the city of Alpine. Yesterday when I drove into work, there were some potholes where our visitors drive into the park. And I thought, oh, I need to call the city. And before I got to work this morning, they were working on them and finished it in about 30 minutes. So I wanted to thank y'all for that. And it's kind of nice to not even have to call before it gets fixed. So our second quarter, we did very well. In state, we had 362 out of Texas. Out of state, we had 154, and those states are listed. Foreign, we had 60, which was a little bit high for the area and the quarter. And I believe later on in the PowerPoint, I have some graphs to show you exactly where our number one foreign country was. Mail outs, we had 98, email 10, phone calls 327. We sent out over 800 brochures in April. We had a lot of other hotels in Fort Stockton. I believe Temple, Texas contacted us and asked us for some packets to send out to them for their guests as they stay in the hotel. So we, this is for Alpine, but we are reaching other areas. Relocations, we had 3 people walk in asking for some information, 5 phone calls, 21 mail outs, and 10 emails. The events that were going on during April to bring some of those tourists in were the Gem and Mineral Show. We had the Earth Day event, and then we also had Relay for Life in April. And in May, we had 350 in Texas, 100 out of state, and 40 foreign. Brochures only did 120, so you can see the difference from month to month, how it varies. The weather and events that we have going on definitely makes a difference on how many brochures we send out, phone calls, emails, mail outs, etc. Relocation, we had 6 walk-ins, 6 phone calls, 3 mail outs, and 3 emails. The events in May were Cinco de Mayo, Drag Big Bend, and the La Junta Festival that took place at Come and Take a Barbecue. I believe it was a very big event and they did well. In June, we had 309 in-state, 57 out-of-state, and 45 foreign. And you'll see again on the brochures, we sent out 944. People are making some summer vacation travels here in this area, and so they wanted information ahead of time. We also are receiving, we didn't have any events in June necessarily. We did have the Joaquin Jackson Memorial. I think a lot of people came in for that, to attend that service. But other than that, we didn't have any events scheduled in June. So that was a very high number for us to not have anybody having events. On the next slide is our second quarter overview. If you'll see, obviously Texas in-state is going to be our highest number. But we did have quite a few in April for the out-of-state and foreign. That was our biggest month out of the second quarter. And then the 2015-2016 comparison, in April we were down a little bit, but in May and June we were able to hold that number steady. And in May we actually had about 100 people more come in through the office. So in June, I think that the numbers are lower just because the spring has kind of ended that season and it's hot. And so I think a lot of people are planning hopefully to come in July and August when we have some of our bigger events in the area. And then top 5 states, obviously Texas, California, Massachusetts, Oklahoma, and Colorado. And those other 4 states, excluding Texas, they all had about 2% once it was broke down. Top 5 foreign countries. I was really surprised Germany beat out Canada. We kind of have a running game at the office on which foreign country will win. Germany had 30% out of all of those foreign tourists, so that was very interesting. We've met a lot of very nice people. We have started a social media outreach, and it is on the Chamber of Commerce Facebook page, but it is reaching thousands of people, and a lot of them are not chamber members. And we encourage all of our tourists to look at our Facebook page so they know what events are happening in the area while they're here. And if you'll see, we have total page likes, page views, and then we just started doing a 52-week campaign on certain businesses in the community. If they have a gold membership with us, they can sign up for this 52-week campaign and they get a commercial that airs on Facebook. And we started that in June, so you'll see that we have went from 20 to 47 to 2,023 hits as far as views, so that's going very well. The next page is another social media outreach, post engagement, and then people reached. If you will see in June, we're reaching close to 16,000 people, and this is in a month. So we just posted our last mixer was at Come and Take It Barbecue. We just posted their commercial, and we have over 1,600 views on that. So it's going very well. The businesses are getting very excited. Our mixers, we have opened up to not only chamber memberships, but the community. So as people are walking into the visitor center, we're saying, hey, if you don't have plans tonight, come out to this mixer and get some free food, listen to some music. And we saw a lot of people that we saw in the visitor center at the mixer. So it's going well. Some upcoming events. Monty Python's Spamalot is, this is the last weekend. If you haven't seen it, I encourage you to do it. They're phenomenal. Lots of talent in this town. And then we also have the Solon State University Rodeo X's Association reunion. Viva Big Bend, which we've had a lot of people come into our office asking about information on that. I think it's going to be a great turnout. The Big Bend Ranch Rodeo in August, and then we have our Chamber of Commerce Fish Fry August 20th. And we will also be raffling a Yeti and some stuff that goes into it that some local businesses have donated items to. And then at the visitor center upcoming, we have the Yeti Cooler raffle. We have purchased new Alpine t-shirts for sale. If you saw us at Fiesta del Barrio or the July 4th event at Coconut Park, we were selling them. They're $15. They're very general. It says I Heart Alpine. We have sold, I think, over 700 so far. So that is, we're doing very well. Our next step, I would really like to get some keychains, magnets. We get a lot of requests for some tourists, paraphernalia and things like that. So the beautification of the visitor center grounds and interior, we have painted the signs outside. As you drive by, I hope you notice them. We're trying to keep our flowers alive. The sun is not helping, but we're trying. And so we're trying to do little things here and there that will catch people's attention. We like to rearrange the visitor center usually once a month, just to, if anybody comes in that has been there before, they'll say, oh, you've changed things. So, and then we also have our t-shirts available for sale there, and they're displayed very nicely. We are working on updating all of our information. We have contacted everyone who has sent us brochures to put out at the visitor center and requesting new ones to be sent if they have updated any information so that we can kind of throw out some of the old ones. We've had a very good response to that. It's going very well. And then we're also working with Chris Ruggia to update our events calendar. If you'll go to the City of Alpine website, their events calendar is color-coded and it's very easy to read. And so we're going to kind of go that route and have different colors for different organizations so that everybody knows that they're on the events calendar. And then some of our gold member marketing perks is our Facebook commercial. We're doing graphic designing. If they need a flyer for an event or anything like that, we are able to do that. And then, of course, our advertising and our social media campaign. So, and that was all I have.
Right before you were working on an app, or the city was working on an app.
Yes, we are working with the Solon State University Computer Science. classes, and they have, his name is Kenner Levere. I mean, I said the last name incorrectly, but he has some capstone students that were willing to do an app for us on the historical walk and tour. And what will happen is it's available for iPhone and Android, and they download this app for free, and they are able to be in the walking tour. It will, as they walk by a building, that if it's on a historic walking tour, their phone will make a noise or it'll vibrate saying, hey, look at this building. This is part of our historic district. So that is actually almost finished, but we're waiting until December to release that to the public. But I think that it will hit a very different type of group as far as age and just the technology that's available now. We want it, you know, you very rarely go to a hotel room and leave your cell phone, but you usually leave magazines and brochures and any type of literature. So we really wanted to have that ability to have it wherever they went. And then hopefully in the spring, we would like to include our chamber businesses that are members and have them on the app to where they can say, I want to go eat at a Mexican food restaurant, and it will pull up every Mexican food restaurant that's a chamber member within this app. So I think it's going to be really great. I think that, and it didn't cost us anything, so that's always nice. And the capstone students, they've done a phenomenal job so far. So I'm very excited to show that to you at the end of the year.
But I was going to ask what it was going to cost the chamber.
Yeah, no, there's no cost to us. This is actually a class for them, and so they have to do well in order to graduate. So there's definitely some motivation behind it on their part. Yes, yes. And hopefully my next goal, you know, I think it's very important to use what you have, and Sol Ross offers so many great degrees and programs, and so I would really like to hopefully have somebody come in to do some desert landscaping for the Chamber and Visitor Center. I think that it would look a lot better, and it would show off, you know, the capability of some of these students. So we have some big plans, and things are going really great. I've been in the position for 8 months, and I feel very confident about where it's headed. So.
Great job.
One quick question for you, Kaylee. So, especially like the summer where we've got bigger groups that are coming in, are you getting any requests for outside catering services, or how do you connect people up? Because we certainly have, you know, some food carts emerging, and they possibly might be interested in doing some larger scale catering. Are you getting those types of
the
requests?
only thing that we've really had is for weddings. A lot of people have come in asking for some catering menus and things like that, and we direct them to all of, not just chamber members, but any of the restaurant services here in town. And then if they need, you know, if they need us to be the in-between person to speak with them, we're more than willing to call. But as far as reunions, I mean, we haven't had a lot of phone calls for big groups coming in. So mostly weddings, everybody's getting married.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now we'll move to the motel tax dollars.
Honorable Mayor, City Council, kicking it off, Kaylee was speaking to from a visitor's perspective and a tourism perspective. I met with Chris Ruggiero and Stuart Rancher after a budget workshop last week. We are preparing the applications to go out for hotel funding dollars this year. The other piece, and I had spoke with Martha Lott, who is the chamber president now of their board. We will be going through an RFP process on running the visitor center. So Chris Ruggia is working with me on that. We look to get that RFP out at some point towards the latter half of next week, along with the applications for funding for hotel tax dollars. We will put all that on the website. We do know, obviously, the chamber is interested in submitting a response on the RFP, but we potentially may have some other people too. And that's just wanted to give you an update. It's one of those that we get calls in here this time of year at City Hall. It is. I purposely put it on the agenda so if people were interested, it would stimulate some more phone calls and just kind of understand the sequencing of what we're doing on that. Okay.
Yeah, you know, and I'm there. I've noticed when I walk through town, we do have a lot of German tourists. And they want to see cowboys and Indians on the back. And they want to ride horses and they want to shoot guns. And so one of our businessmen here in Alpine, Signs of Recognition, actually took a group out to the gun range and let them shoot some of his guns and stuff. And they were all thoughtful about it and everything. They're also looking at perhaps trying to find like a temporary CDL or concealed hand license for them so they can take back to Germany as a memento. So I think that'd be a pretty good idea. You know, and also we'd also make some revenues off this. So, you know, using the work on see where it goes. City County Layson report.
Yeah, I had several contacts with Church Cano, and one of the things that we did was put together a letter asking, formally requesting what they want on the table. Some time ago, the county was presented with a list of the things that we want on the table to discuss. And we're requesting, and I did so in writing, that we get their list of what they want on the table. And I also included a list of stuff that they were submitted the first time, just in case it got misplaced or something like that happens. So they said that they would be responding. So until they respond, there's nothing that we can do. So we're going to kind of hang loose and wait until we hear back from them.
Yes, sir.
Mayor, City Councilman, my name is Mike Pianis, Bristol County Commissioner for Precinct 4. And yesterday I was handed a request from Councilman Fitzgerald from the judge to myself. And when I looked at the items on the request, we had discussed those on our regular call meeting on February the 1st of this year. Councilman Gonzalez was there. We discussed each one of those items and the proposals and what we thought of them and our feedback. I don't know if you all received those that feedback to the City Council or not. So what I did, if I may, I went back to the minutes of that particular meeting and I have the discussion that took place. If you warn you, we took about an hour and a half discussing all those items. So we go over each one of those items and we can discuss each one of them and we'll give the information or feedback of what we discussed and what we decided to do with those items.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Very good. Thank you. So we do need a good working relationship with the county. And I think this is just the start.
I agree with you. I agree with you. And just to state that Councilman Gonzalez and myself will meet periodically, at least once every 2 weeks, and we will discuss things that were on the agenda and things that might be coming up and so forth and so on. I know that I met Mr. Fitzgerald several weeks ago in the judge's office, and he introduced himself, and he said he's a new liaison in the city to the county, and so therefore I would appreciate very, very much if Mr. Fitzgerald would go to me, and then I would look up the request, and then I could present that to the Commissioner's Court and for discussion, so we could decide which way to go with those. So, do you have any questions?
Yes, sir. So you're going to give us, so what you're saying from us is we've not heard anything back about the action item. So it sounds like you got some next meetings, so you're going to give those to Fitz.
Excuse me?
You're going to give the meeting minutes to Fitz so that we in the city council.
I have them here in front of me. If you would like, I will pass them out to you, to each one of you, and you can take them and read them, or we can go ahead and discuss them briefly if you would like to.
Yeah, I think we'll go ahead and read them later, and then we'll get back with you.
Okay.
Yeah, because of the time restraints.
So I'll hand this to you. And then, if you have any questions pertaining to any of those items, I will leave that to finance and control.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Mr. Commissioner. We appreciate
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you for taking your time to come.
And I agree with you, we're very ready and willing to work with the city in any way that we possibly can and help each other out as much as we can.
Absolutely, we're all in together.
Yes.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and we'll move to the action items to be confident on brief statement of facts, including where funds are coming from, if applicable. And action items limited to up to 10 per meeting. Citizens are allowed to comment, limit to 3 minutes after being called upon by the mayor. Citizens are required to state their name and ward in which they reside. Priority will be given to citizens of Alpine and those who own business or property in the city. Individuals who do not live in or own businesses or property in the city limits of Alpine will be allowed to speak at this time. So the first item will be item 8. City Manager.
Honorable Mayor, City Council, discuss and consider approving recommendation by Planning and Zoning Commission concerning zoning change requested by Rebecca Cross Seals from a C2 to an M1 for the expansion of the existing substation. Agent is AEP Texas. Robert signs property identification. Street address is 8th Street between West Murphy and West Avenue Ave. Here in Alpine, Texas. The legal description is lot 34, portion of lot 5, lot 57, the original township in Alpine. The Planning and Zoning Commission held a public hearing last week and then concluded with a meeting yesterday where they did give you a formal recommendation. The minutes from the public hearing were in your packet. The recommendation from Planning and Zoning we submitted to you this morning with a hard copy on the bench. Planning and Zoning did pass the motion making the recommendation to council that you do rezone that property from C2 to M1. We did hear from two individuals this evening at the public hearing. We also did hear from 2 individuals at the public Planning and Zoning public hearings. Certainly answer any questions. We do have Fred Hernandez here with AEP if there are additional technical questions that I can't answer. So it's a $3.5 million. The 2 projects total $3.5 million investment by AEP. First phase is already zoned M1. That's about $1.5 million. And the second phase is about $2 million. Those will be assets. Taxable assets as well. So,
Okay. Go ahead.
I just had a quick question. Mr. Carpenter stated that it was not anywhere or had anything to do with Avenue F. Do we need to get a clarification on that or change the language on that? Or did I just misunderstand what he said? It says right here, the streets between West Murphy and West Avenue Ave.
Right. So if you look in your packet at the actual map of the property, you'll see the location between Murphy and Avenue. It does not sit directly on either one of those streets.
Right.
Lot 4 and half of lot 5.
See what you're doing.
The second map in there, Councilor Salas, is a greater map of the area that shows who was notified.
That's the one I was looking at, so I'm okay with it now. All right, thank you.
Okay.
We did have an individual that had a question concerning radiation. That was a Mr. Manny. I think we need some technical assistance in that to clarify that. Mr. Hernandez?
Good afternoon, Honorable Mayor and council members, and we talked about this a little bit earlier today. And I'm not familiar with the term when we talk about radiation. I think that's more in line with what you would hear in a power plant setting, nuclear power plant setting. The substations are not necessarily known for radiation. I think maybe it might be confused. They refer to as electromagnetic fields, okay? And because of the size of the substation and what we're doing, we're not changing the electromagnetic field footprint at all. The size is, the capacity of the substation is not getting any bigger. I kind of had this same conversation about the substation itself. We are changing out our existing equipment there from a manual system. We have manual relays that work on protecting that line. We're putting in state-of-the-art electronics with backup systems. Plus, it'll also have supervisory control where we can operate these breakers from remote locations. So when we get through with this $3.2 million investment, we'll have state-of-the-art equipment here in Alpine to help shore up reliability. As far as the size, we're needing a little bit bigger footprint for the equipment that we're putting in there, but the capacity and the actual electrons flowing through that substation aren't going to be any more or less. It's going to be essentially the same. In addition to this $3.2 million investment that we're making, Eric kind of talked about it. These costs are in Texas. These costs are transmission cost of service, and it's a socialized cost. So the ratepayers in Alpine will just pay a small pro rata portion of that. The ratepayers out of Texas will help share those costs. So that's a big win for the folks in Alpine, because when you look at trying to do a cost benefit analysis and any kind of business model you want to look at, you have about, you have probably 3,000 customers in Alpine, and you're going to spread $3 million of cost. It doesn't make good sense. So this model works for the citizens of Alpine. You get the reliability, you get the secondary benefit, as Eric talked about, the tax value of the property. And the main thing I think that we're all concerned about is reliability. This investment that we're making right now is part of an overall reliability plan that we're doing for the region. We serve Alpine, Marathon, Marfa, Presidio, Valentine, Valmarais, that area. That's our footprint out here. So we're going to bring in we have 3 sources of power coming to this region. And one of the sources coming from Gorilla Junction through this Highway 90-67 split. There's a metering point out there. And we're going to bring it in with some new poles, to the new construction standards. And I'm not sure exactly what we're going to spend on that, but it'll be significantly more than what we're spending here. But that will most assuredly help support the reliability for this region for years to come. An existing substation's probably been there for 60 years. It's served us well, but it's old and it needs attention. And this is something that's good for the community. It's good for AEP, so we're glad to do it.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yes, sir.
There doesn't seem to have been a problem with radiation in the past. It's been there for 60 years. I'm sure you've heard something about it. These people this lady wants to sell it. They want to buy it. And if there's going to be the same amount of electromagnetic going through it.
Yes, one of the things, and I mean, just so I can respond to this comment, one of the things that I thought was important is last week at the public hearing in planning and zoning, how AEP did bring in 8+ individuals to speak to the technical requirements. Fred Hernandez is their public liaison. My experience with AEP is they don't shy away from the questions. So whether it's Mrs. Yanez or Mr. Ibarra or others that come ask, Mr. Hernandez has repeatedly showed up and been available to answer concerns. Anytime you have a substation power, it's something that we naturally don't work on, and then helping the citizens understand what they're trying to do out there, I think is important. And I do appreciate Mr. Hernandez continuing to come and answer questions and be available.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
My name is Galen Mack. I live in Ward 2. I did quite a bit of research. I have a master's degree in chemistry. I got my bachelor's here at Ross. I got a master's at University of Oregon. So I did quite a bit of research into the smart meters when they came out. There were a lot of interesting theories and hypotheses. But the smart meters do communicate on a 900 megahertz frequency, which is known to interfere with pulse width modulators. Pulse width modulator is actually the basis of a pacemaker. So I would actually, and I got to AP's PhD. We got into a long discussion about how everything in California causes cancer. Now they are putting pacemaker warnings on their smart meters, and the gain. So the power generated by this electromagnetic radiation is what it is. They're sending signals out from our smart meters. It's very small. It's at 2 watts is best I could come up with. Unfortunately, Landis here, the company that makes smart meters, a European company, I was never able to get a white paper on the actual smart meter itself to confirm the 2-watt gain. But I would just like to encourage AEP, not that this is anything that should discourage the council from making a decision on this property and modernizing the substation, but to encourage AEP to actually consider the pulse width modulation interference, particularly with 900 megahertz frequency. I don't know how you're going to do remote operation, but ultimately, I hope it's not the same system as we've done with smart meters, because we could easily put that to a different megahertz, to a different frequency, and we wouldn't have to worry about my mother-in-law peeling over from her patient. So just to throw that out there, that folks aren't completely crazy, but they don't probably have the basis in science to really research this stuff.
Not that we've had the smart meters here for about a year now, and I'll be able to hear them.
Again, we're talking about a 2-foot radius around the smart meter. That's because the gain is so low that you have to basically walk up and belly up to the thing, read the meter. So again, it's about gains and how much power we're putting out, how much we're interfering. Ultimately, the 900 megahertz phones that we used to have, they interfered. If you can go read the stories, they interfered with pacemakers, but they're higher wattage. So again, just so you know, there is the potential for EMR, but again, I don't think this is really an applicable situation. But the concerns are real.
And also the same concerns when the meters came out. Those were some same concerns that were brought up. And so far, like you said, you got to be right on top of it. Right. Absolutely. Thank you very much, sir. Anybody else? Yes, sir, Mr. Barr.
Mayor, Council. Also, I have a question with the emissions, noise emissions. How is that going to affect the people that live around there? There's some elderly people that live there as well. And I'm concerned with also the appearance of the place. It's just going to be an eyesore for the community. Property value will drop. The only people that's going to make money is Mr. Carpenter and the lady who's telling the property lives out in Sunny Glen. So where do we benefit from that, other than just property value just dropping even farther?
I don't know, and I don't think it. And probably Mr. Carpenter has answered that question of the property value dropping. But with the power station there already, it's been there for 60 years. Has it diminished the property value any?
No, it's not as visible as it's going to be.
This one, Mr. Hernandez, your equipment is going to be as far as your noise level.
Yeah, I don't think you would anticipate any change in noise levels. There shouldn't make any difference over the. And as far as the EMF component, it's naturally occurring in the environment right now. We're getting bombarded with EMF through these fluorescent lights right now. I mean, and like you say, the drop off is pretty immediate. If you're standing in front of your microwave, you're getting probably a good dose of it right there. And we've been around it all of our lives. And so it's I don't know. It's probably no different. When you take a measurement now, you probably won't notice any difference if you take a measurement that frequency. Same with sound. I don't think you'll notice any difference. And probably in terms of the appearance, it may look a little prettier, and it might, because we'll have new equipment in that substation, more state-of-the-art looking equipment.
Yeah, Fred, are there any diesel generators or anything like that that's going to generate noise? Are you really installing some solid-state switching equipment? be able to remotely manage the power that's distributed in Alpine.
That is correct.
It's not going to be using the smart meter technology. Those are limited to what goes on at the homes.
Correct.
You're going to, presuming 9 access this wirelessly. It'll all be over direct conduit. So that's how you control the power levels you have. So smart meters around this. So the 800 megawatts, the 900 watts, 800, that's all out of this picture. So this is really about how you manage distribution of power to Alpine that can be managed remotely with different circuits. In the event you lose power on one truck, you can switch over to another one, which is why you're doing that.
The diagnostic ability and the backup ability is, the redundancy helps you with the reliability. Yeah, everything you just said was correct.
And at $3.2 million, you're going to add $17,250 in tax base Alpine.
You've already figured it out. I'll assume your math is good.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hernandez. Anybody?
I think you probably get more radiation from these things too.
But it's really for an overall improvement of Alpine. We've been having outages in the last several years with the ice storm we've had. And now we have a redundant system out there, which will benefit us. Your equipment's a lot quieter, of course, than the old mechanical type that used to be years ago. This has been, 6 years old. So I think the technology is there to improve the system and better the environment also at the same time. Yes, sir.
So Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Commission concerning the zoning change requested by owner Reaver Cross Seals from C2 to M1 for expansion of the existing substation with the agent of AEP Texas. And with the property address being 8th Street between West Dorothy and West Avenue at Alpine. The legal description is lot 34 and portion of 5, block 57, the original town site of Alpine.
Councilor Stevens, lot 4, sorry, the public hearing was correctly noted. But we didn't have that.
Lot, that would be lot 4 and portion of 5, block 57.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Motion's been made to approve. And it's been seconded. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Next on the agenda is discuss and consider park board recommendation on behalf of Medina Park. City manager said,
Honorable Mayor, City Council, one of the requirements we have from the city perspective is that we do not add new equipment, new versions or variations to the parks without recommendation from Parks Board and approval from Council. The Friends of Big Bend Park have secured a grant to pave a path around the perimeter of Medina Park. The course of that path is depicted in your packets. There is no cost to the city of Alpine. We do believe from a maintenance perspective it will help, minimize maintenance out there. They will be set at ground level, so we won't have a curve that presents a tripping hazard, or really you can go right over them as well. So certainly a project that the Friends of Big Bend Park wanted to do. They've got several of their mothers who use that park. It's nice play equipment over there. Kids play. Moms like to kind of walk around the perimeter. And so that's the nature of that request. The Parks Board has recommended approving them. So it's in front of council this evening.
very good. And it is very needed out there. And it's also it's a high usage park. Every time I go by there, I always see moms with kids or families picnicking out there. So that'd be a great improvement, and especially it's not costing the city anything. And probably lessen as far as the maintenance out there. So I will entertain a motion.
I'll move that we consider the recommendation at Medina Park.
And there's a second. All those in favor of the motion to go ahead and go over the path to Medina Park, raise your right hand. All those opposed, motion carries. Thank you all very much. Now, next is discuss and consider reapproving a resolution approving submission of a grant application for the mobile communications project of Alpine Police Department. City Manager Sitter.
Honorable Mayor, City Council, we had originally approved this resolution in March of this year. Certainly, we were trying to minimize the language on it. We removed a whereas statement that related to matching funds. This particular grant does not require any matching funds from the city of Alpine, but the state would still like that statement to be included in the resolution. So we've come back asking for approval that we reinsert that statement. Although there is no matching funds, the state does require that we have that whereas.
So it's just a change of verbiage.
Yes, sir, and then we would have you sign it tomorrow.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the resolution approving the submission of the grant application for the mobile communications project for Alpine Police Department.
It's been made and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Okay, council comments and answers. Anybody? Yes, sir.
I'd like to express my appreciation for Commissioner Biotis being here at the meeting. He just wanted that board on, so we didn't hear this. But anyway, I'm also gratified to see that there are 4 of my constituents out there in the audience. Thank you all for coming.
Very good. Anybody else?
I would like to, again, like everybody knows, healthcare is a big issue for me. Thank you, Mike, for your endless hours out there, and for everyone else to be here. Hope to see you on my next round.
Thank you. Anybody else? I'd just like to comment on Mr. Scudder for you being here and presenting and making a presentation. Also, Peggy Cutt and Mr. Hernandez with AEP. Certainly, Mr. Hernandez is not shy, does not shy away for questions, and he's well prepared and prepared to take what he does. So I'd like to thank him. I know he did that because he had another engagement to go to, but I'd like to thank those folks for being here.
I move we adjourn.
A motion's been made to adjourn. Is there a second? Second. So moved. We adjourn. Thank you all very much.
Hey, Mom.
Thank you.
Yeah, I put an initial to the I don't know the name of things. Oh, for